Welcome back to another innovation review. Today, we're going to be looking at the X3 Pro from Wallke. So the X3 Pro is a Class 3, meaning it can go up to 28 miles per hour and it comes with both pedal assist and throttle. It comes fitted with a 750 watt brushless rear hub motor. It also comes with a 48 volt, 14 amp hour battery. The battery is housed in the down tube right back over here, and you can either charge it in the bike or you can take it out of the bike and charge it in your house. We've got these big 26 by 4 inch tires, which really make this thing quite a smooth ride. We've also got the inclusion of these partner front forks up here, 100 millimeters of travel on those. They are quick adjustments. And in the back, we have got this HLT 100 with 30 millimeters of travel. The 2021 model also comes with included fenders and a rear rack. And that's a pretty decent overview, but some of you are here for the details, so let's dive into those right now. So we've already given you kind of a brief overview of what the X3 Pro is. A couple little extra details to add. This thing has folding pedals. It's got an adjustable kickstand. We've got hydraulic disc brakes. We've also got the inclusion of a phone holder / phone charger and a USB port in the screen. Now we're gonna get to all that sort of stuff, but let's talk about Wallke as a company. So Wallke's been around for a few years. Earlier this year, we were able to get our hands on the 2020 model of the X3 Pro. And since we've got our hands on the 2021, I think I'm also gonna make a video kind of talking about the differences between the 2020 model and some of the upgrades they've made to the 2021 model. Currently, they ship straight to consumer. They got a warehouse in California, so the shipping times on these is very good for people in the United States. I think the first bike, it took about 3 or 4 days, and this one also took about 3 or 4 days, so that seems to be the average, at least in my experience, as far as the shipping goes. They also offer a 1-year warranty on all their bikes, and I'll put a link to their website down below. You can check out the warranty and see exactly what that covers. So the X3 Pro comes in this one size, fits riders anywhere between 5'4" to 6'5", and has a total weight capacity of 300 pounds. It comes in 4 colors: gray, green, black, and the desert tan, and this is the desert tan right here. So the bike comes about 80% assembled. When I got it, I had to attach the rear rack on there. You have to screw in the pedals, and we also installed the front tire and the handlebars. So nothing that is too complicated. They provide you with all the tools for that. Probably took me about 15 to 20 minutes from unpacking it to putting this thing together. One of the things I like to talk about here is that the packaging this comes in is pretty substantial. So the box is pretty similar to a lot of boxes we've seen with these different e-bikes, but the way that they're packaging the 2021 model, especially as opposed to the 2020 model, is they are encasing the entire thing in this expandable foam. So what they do is they'll set it inside the box, and there'll be a plastic sheet that goes over the whole of the bike, and they fill the outside with this expandable foam. So when I got the box, it was a little bit heavier than I was expecting, but when you pull it out, it's just encased in this foam, and so there's really like 0% chance that this bike is going to arrive damaged whatsoever, unless the delivery guys are throwing it off of buildings or something like that. So as long as your delivery guys don't make a habit of throwing packages off buildings, this thing is going to arrive to you the way that they sent it from the factory. So that's super cool to see. It's a little different. Most of the e-bikes we see, they're kind of in this styrofoam, and so having this expandable foam kind of surrounding the entire bike is a little bit different. However, they are protecting that investment. When you buy an e-bike, that's an investment for a lot of us. This is a lot of money, and so they're taking that seriously, and they're saying, hey, look, you're paying us this money for this bike. We want you to receive this bike the way that we intended you to receive it. So that's pretty cool. As I mentioned in the beginning, the X3 Pro is a Class 3, meaning it has pedal assist and a throttle. This one also includes a walk mode on there. We'll get into the walk mode a little bit later. So the frame we have here is 6061 aluminum, similar to some of the other stuff. One of the improvements, though, is they have this new seamless weld design. So on the last model, we had welds up here, we had welds here, at the folding joint. And with this new seamless welding design, everything is really smooth, really kind of gets this like finished vibe to it. The paint job here, it's not very glossy. It's a little bit more matte. So if you've seen any sort of like military desert tan, this is very similar to that, as opposed to the Wallke emblem. It sticks out just a little bit, and it's got a little bit more of a shimmery gold feel to it. The desert tan is probably my favorite color. When they asked if we wanted to review this model, I said yes, but make sure you send me the desert tan one. And don't be surprised if it goes missing mysteriously under mysterious circumstances. But this is a bike review and not a confession to a crime, so let's talk about some of the geometry aspects of the bike here. One of the biggest barrier to entries, at least in my opinion, for some people here is going to be this 31-inch standover height. So like I mentioned, this is a bigger bike. They talk about on the lower end that 5'4" mark. Might be a bit of a stretch, but if you can get over that standover height of 31 inches, we've got a lot of options here as far as the seating adjustment goes. We have a minimum saddle adjustment of 22.5 inches and a maximum of 31 inches. So when you're getting into those taller, like that 6'5", I honestly think somebody at 6'5" could fit this bike fairly well. We've got a 19-inch reach here, and for those of you who don't know kind of what some of these measurements are, or you don't know your own measurements and how that relates to buying an e-bike online, there's a bunch of good videos online that you can find that'll teach you kind of how to measure yourself, because when you're buying an e-bike like this online, kind of sight unseen, as some people say, knowing that this bike is going to fit you is a really big factor in deciding on what bike is going to be right for you. We always recommend, if you can get to a local shop, get to a local shop. But when you're dealing with companies like Wallke who only ship direct to consumer, there's no test rides on this thing. You got to know that the bike's going to fit you. You're going to get it, and it's going to work the way you want it to. And getting back to the saddle here, we've got this Wallke branded plush memory foam saddle. It's pretty wide up here on top, and then it tapers off really quickly to this point, which I like because that allows our legs to kind of fall off here and get down to the pedals. Just gives us a little bit better angle of attack as far as the geometry of the pedaling goes. Another thing that I really like is back here, this isn't necessarily a handle, but right back here there's almost like this little concave in here. So if you were gonna reach in there and hold it, like it's a really nice grip. So as long as the saddle is in here securely, you can use this to kind of maneuver the bike. And yeah, I really like that. My only gripe with the saddle, honestly, is similar to the 2020 model. We have the inclusion of this shim here. Now, you pop this out, and this seat post will not fit into the seat post tube unless you have this shim in here. So, this shim goes in here, and that's what allows you to get this seat post to fit in here. In my opinion, it takes away a little bit from the aesthetics of the bike. We've got these new seamless welding designs here. We have got this huge partner front fork in the front, and the whole bike just looks really awesome. And then there's just kind of this little plastic shim here. Not a huge deal. I mean, I haven't had any issues with it. From a functionality perspective, it's not a big deal. However, from an aesthetic perspective, it would be cool to get a seat post that just kind of works with the seat post too. And so maybe that's something we can look for in future models of the bike. But all in all, fairly comfortable. Speaking of comfort, we'll move on up here to the front tire here. So these tires, we've got these CSTs. They're 26 by 4 inches. So just that nice, huge, big, fat tire that we all know and love. Nothing too fancy about these. There's no sidewall stripe protection. I don't believe there's any puncture protection, but you do get a thicker tire, so that's going to help you out a little bit. We've got regular straighter valves on here, so nothing too fancy. These are the partner 26-inch front forks right here. We do have some quick adjustment knobs, which is nice. We've seen some brands that promise quick adjustments, and they're not really quick adjustments. You need a tool, or they're just not quick adjustments at all. These ones are that, so that's cool to see that. And we have 100 millimeters of travel here. Those are also paired with this rear suspension. We've got the HLT 100, and this one has 30 millimeters of travel. This one is a spring suspension here. And the whole ride is honestly very smooth, very easy. The way that the front forks came set up, I probably would adjust that a little bit if I was gonna keep the bike. Most of the riding that I do is in the city, light trails, things like that. And so there's a little bit too much play here for me, so it just kind of floats a little bit too much. But we got that quick adjustment on there, something you could do, very easily. Again, there's tons of good videos online. I watched one, I forget who it was from, but it was a fairly big channel, and they just kind of walk you through the whole process, like this is how you do it, this is what this means, this is what that means. So I'm not an expert in adjusting these, but there are people out there, and I just recommend you search around a little bit to find those. One of the other things we had to install was this front light. Super simple, it's just one little connection bolt here, and this light is one of those lights where the beam is a little bit thinner and a little bit wider. So we talk about that sometimes, where some of the e-bike lights are just kind of more circular and they kind of just have this really big disbursement pattern. This one's a little bit tighter and a little bit wider. So if that's something you're into, then you'd be into this. It's fairly bright, probably about 250, 300 lumens. I'm not sure the exact measurements on it, but when compared to some of the other ones that we've seen, this is pretty on par with those. And moving up here to the cockpit, we have got these faux leather ergonomic grips. One of the things that I really like is we've got double locking points. So we've got locking points here and here, just making sure that we're not going to be able to move these, which you can't move these things whatsoever. Just a little bit of a safety feature here. Now, one of the things as far as the grip goes that I'll touch on here before we kind of dive into them is, and that's going to be these XOD brake levers. So the brake levers, as far as the whole system goes, works really well from a functionality point. This thing stops on a dime. We'll do a couple braking tests, but honestly, this thing stops very, very well. It's just this little bolt right here. So this bolt, it can't be adjusted, it can't be moved in as far as I know. And the way that impacts us is if you have your hands in here and you try to move it in, my fingers can barely fit in there, but it's just kind of there. Now it's not sharp, it's not cutting me or anything like that, but it's not like it was rounded or tried to be adjusted so my fingers, you know, don't get in there. So it's not super uncomfortable, but it's there, it's noticeable. Like I'm kind of like, huh, what is that? And this side's not that big of a deal. You know, the grips are pretty big, so you can kind of reach all the way over here. But in order to make our shifting adjustments, we have got to put our fingers up in here. And in order for me to hit this top paddle here, I'm touching this. And again, not sharp, it's not cutting me, but it's not comfortable. And, you know, then I got to get in there to play with this. So it's adjusting my grip a little bit just to kind of make it work. If I was going to keep the bike, one of the things I would probably do is switch the way that these are mounted. So if we move the shifter on this side and the brake lever on this side, everything's still going to be in the same general area, but now we're moving that paddle out to about here, and it's not going to be interfering with this whatsoever, or at least not as much. So that's an adjustment I would make. Probably a decent DIY project. You know, pop this off, take these off, switch them around. So if that's something you feel comfortable doing, something I probably recommend doing, just so you don't have to worry about kind of getting in here. So if you had fatter fingers than I do, or you're wearing gloves, that might be an issue. And swinging back here to the other side is kind of where all the action takes place. We have got the thumb throttle and we've got the control pad. Control pad's very similar to the last model. A couple of things they've changed from the 2020 model to the 2021 model as far as getting to the advanced settings. We'll do that in a minute because I had a difficult time trying to find that online, and so I found it out, so I'm gonna let you know. So back here again, we've got the thumb throttle in a decent spot, you know, just a nice little plastic thumb throttle. We've also got the inclusion of this little bell here. Not super loud, nothing to write home about, but it is included here because we don't have a horn or any other sort of sound-making device for a safety reason. So let's go ahead and fire this on. So you're gonna hold down the power button here, and the bike's gonna come on. We got a nice little welcome screen here, and then the bike is going to pop on. So this screen is an improvement from the last one. This one is a little bit wider, a little bit taller, and it's kind of got this edge-to-edge look to it. I don't think the screen actually goes all the way to the edge. It looks like the screen goes to about here and then to about here, but it's definitely a lot bigger of a screen than the last version. And the screen's going to tell us a couple things. So it's going to show us our battery. Right now it's at 73%. It's going to tell us the watts that we were using. And when we're doing the ride test, we'll talk about that. It's going to tell us our current speed, our trip miles here, what pedal assist level we're in, and our odometer on this side. To adjust the pedal assist, we're going to come over here and we're going to press up on the keypad there. And that is going to make our adjustments. When this thing comes stock, it's only from 0 to 3. I went in there to the advanced settings, and so mine goes up to 5. The first e-bike I had 5 levels. I like it. You know, you do what you want. It's personal preference at that point. And then one thing to note here, going back to the throttle, is the throttle is actually controlled by the pedal assist. So there are some throttles where it's sort of unlocked. You got full power right there at your fingertips, but with this one, it is controlled by the pedal assist. So pedal assist is off. It's not going anywhere, but we go to pedal assist level 1. And we get a little bit of juice, then the bike is going to pop out. So just something to be aware of if you want to kind of finesse your speed with this. And maybe one of the reasons they did that is because when you're using the throttle, you also have a cruise control. You don't have that with pedal assist, but if you are using the throttle and you hold down the throttle for that 3 to 5 seconds, it feels a little bit more like 3 than 5 seconds, you're going to hit that cruise control. So if you had the cruise control, but then you went to do the pedal assist, then it would just, you know, kind of throw you up to whatever level that is. but that's not the way this one works. So you can set your level based on the pedal assist level, and then also you can cruise with this. So they kind of work in tandem together. While we're on the screen, back here we've got this USB dongle. And this is nice because if you want to use this for charging something, your cell phone or something like that, you've also got this port. We also have the port over here with the phone charger, but it's cool to have something like that just kind of baked into the display. Now, if you didn't want to use it, it's just a simple port, so you could unplug it if you wanted to. What I would probably do is get a little bit of Velcro, and then probably do some Velcro back here and just kind of mount this back here so this isn't flapping around in the wind or whatever. Just kind of keep it nice and tight there, but this gives you some options if you need to take it one way or the other. And if we pop around to the other side here, and let's talk about this phone holder, phone charger. It's very simple. You're going to press this button and that pops it out. You kind of get your phone in there and then you squeeze it and then it doesn't come back out. We did some testing with the last one. I don't think this is any different than the 2020 model. It did a decent job, and honestly, for anything that's not some sort of extreme riding, I think this will be fine. And then on this side, we've got our Shimano Acera 8-speed shifter. So this thing does have 8 speeds, goes from 8 to 1, and the paddles are here. We talked a little bit about kind of maybe making this adjustment to make this easier to get to. It is doable. You just got to change your grip a little bit to get in there and get the full functionality out of it. And that is connected back here to our Shimano Altus derailleur. No issues here whatsoever. All the gears shift really well. I believe my favorites are 7th and 4th. I don't know if you're allowed to have favorite gears, but I do. And I haven't made any of my own adjustments. That's just what came stock. So if you're getting the bike stock, you should be getting a pretty decent shift as far as the way it comes set up. And then right back here, we've got this 750 watt AKM brushless rear hub motor. It definitely does all the work we need it to do, and I believe it's going to give us up to 1500 watts kind of during peak performance. So this thing functions well, no issues with this whatsoever. It seems to be paired up with a good controller, and the controller just kind of makes the whole thing run real nice like. And then if we pop around to the other side, get a good look at these XOD brake calipers. Again, the system works really, really well, stops on a dime. My only issue again is just kind of with that handle up there. I like the way these look. They're a little bit more industrial, a little bit more matte than say some of the Tektros we've seen. The bolts on here are a little bit more, just a little bit more matte, not quite as shiny, which I think really pairs well with this color in particular and just this matte that the bike is. The disc brakes here are 180 millimeters, which is an improvement over the 2020 model. I believe those were 160 millimeters. You can quote me on that because I'm pretty sure that's right. And then up here is the rear rack. So the rear rack here is probably the longest part of the install, and that's not because it's difficult. It's fairly simple. These bolts here are fairly long, and they kind of have like a fine thread on them. So honestly, most of the time of me setting this bike up was sitting there with my Allen key and undoing it. So if I had something that was like motorized, some sort of impact wrench, something like that, you could probably make some quick work of that. I don't have that, so that was the the longest part for me. I mean, probably 50% of putting the bike together was just undoing these bolts, sitting on there, and then doing them again. But it's got a lot of threads in there, so that thing is going to be nice and secure. As far as the max load on here, I'm not positive what the max load is. It's fairly decent construction. I like some of these different points that they have here because I've used it a few times and I have bungee cords of different sizes, and so you can kind of connect one here, you can connect one over here to here. You have a couple of options that kind of work with whatever your bungee setup is, so that's nice. And then we've also got this rear reflector here in the back. One thing we didn't talk about earlier was these fenders. Again, the rack and fenders come stock with the 2021, and these are probably my favorite fenders yet, and I'll tell you why. Some of the fenders that we've seen are plastic, and they're pretty flimsy and kind of a lighter plastic. These ones are a little bit thicker, a little bit heavier of a plastic, but they're not metal. And the reason I like that is because a lot of those metal ones, they can get scratched, and then when you're dealing with rust or things like that. With these ones, they're designed to be wet. They're designed to be scratched, hit with rocks and things like that, because their job is to be down here getting wet, taking the rocks, things like that. So, us sitting up there, we don't have to. So as far as these fenders go, I really like that. It's an excellent upgrade to this model for sure. And then popping back over here to the other side, we've got these Pro Wheel cranks. pretty much everybody that we've seen is using these pro wheel cranks for the most part. No issues with these. We've seen these on a lot of the e-bikes here. And then we've got these Wallke folding pedals. These folding pedals are actually pretty nice. Some of the Wallke ones they're more plastic than metal, and these ones feel like they're kind of aluminum and a little bit wider and a little bit thinner, which is something I usually comment on. I like a little bit more foot real estate, and so these ones I feel like have a little bit more foot real estate. Now, we don't have any sort of like over chain guard up here, but this sticks out and it is metal, and so that really is nice. We took it off-road and we ended up getting some soft sand and kind of came down on a rock, and this took no damage whatsoever, and I took a chip out of the rock. So that makes me feel really good. So knowing I'm gonna hit something with this, and whatever I'm hitting with this is gonna break and the bike's gonna be fine. So that is super cool. So the folding mechanism here is kind of a two-part deal. You have to pull this up and then you get to pop this out. Now, my only remark here as far as the functionality goes, because the rest of it, I mean, works really well, is this top handle. We've seen some that have like a spring or an assistance back here to kind of bring it back down. This one doesn't have that. So if you pop it up, you know, you still gotta put quite a bit of pressure to pop this out, but it would be nice to see, you know, some sort of spring, some sort of thing to bring this back down. So if I accidentally bump it, you know, it'll pop back down and I have that extra layer of security. I don't know if that's a DIY project. I'd have to look into that, but just something that maybe we could see on future models as well. Something that just kind of will snap that back down into place. All right, so let's grab the keys and see what this battery is all about. All right, so we got the keys. Let's go ahead and pop this battery out. I wouldn't recommend doing it with one hand, but I'm doing this for science, so I must. Go ahead and pop this open. I'm going to pop it in there and unlock it. Now we do have the inclusion of this little handle here, which is real nice. So you just grab this handle and then pull it and boom, pops out. Very nice. All right, so we got the bike folded back up again. Let's pop this battery out over here. So this battery is a Samsung lithium-ion battery, 48 volts like we talked about, 14 amp hours, 672 watt hours. It takes about 6 hours for a full charge. The only full charge I've done, I was from about 25% or so. It took me right around 5 hours. So the whole 6 hour for a full charge I feel like is a pretty fair estimate. And then once you've got that full charge, you should be getting anywhere from 35 to 60 miles per charge. Now, obviously that 60 miles is best case scenario, low pedal assist levels, flat terrain. And then one of the things is Wallke also has the inclusion of this WPOS technology. And basically what that does is it allows the bike to use the downward momentum to gather some of that energy and store that as electrical energy to kind of power your ride a little bit further. I'm not a huge expert as far as like how that works. I'm not a science guy, I'm a bike guy. And so, you know, I definitely do a little bit of research into that. They have a page on their website that talks about it. Again, link to their website will be down below. So you can check that out and kind of see exactly what that means. And, you know, for us around here, everything's super flat, right? We're on the coast, and we probably wouldn't really get to take advantage of it. So I really can't attest to how well it works, how well it doesn't work, you know, whatever. You'd really have to have somebody who is in a hillier area who could take advantage of that WPOS system there. And then going back to the battery, we have got the charging port here. We talked about it a little bit earlier. You can charge it, you can take it out and charge it, or you can charge it in the bike. And then down here at the bottom, we have this really thick, real dense foam that is kind of stuck here on the bottom. And the reason they did that is if we take the battery up back over here, you will see that battery goes right about there. The frame is a little bit bigger than the battery, so it extends a little bit further. So one of the things we had with the 2020 model, we had a little bit of a battery rattle. It really feels like the snugness of this coming out was really nice. So it seems like they've fixed that. And then they also included this just to make it extra snug in there. So that is really cool to see. And that pretty much covers it for the battery. We talked about all the specifications of the bike. Let's go ahead and fold it up. We'll take a walk around, see what that looks like folded up, and then we will test out the walk mode and head out for the ride test. So we got this thing folded up. I'll throw the dimensions up there on the screen. And this is kind of what it looks like folded up. Still a fairly, decent size here. But we do have the inclusion of this little stand down here, which is really nice. So the pedals don't have to touch the ground. It's going to be this stand with the concrete and the tires. So none of the major parts of the bike should be touching the ground whatsoever. All right, let's fold this thing up and then test out that walk mode. We've had a lot of questions about people trying to get into the advanced settings on here. With most e-bikes, it's going to be the up and down arrows, so you're going to hold those down, and you're going to get in here into the settings. Now, you'd go to advanced settings, you'd hit the buttons to get in there, but you can't change anything in here. And this is what a lot of people were coming to realize, they couldn't get in there and access anything. But it's fairly simple. All you're going to do is hold down the up and the down and the power button until you see an OK pop on the screen. And once you see that OK down there, now we're going to go back into the advanced settings, and now we have access to all the advanced settings. So hopefully that helps somebody out. It took me a while to find that, and I love getting in there and messing around with stuff. So to get into the walk mode, all you're going to do is hold down the minus or the down arrow, and we're going to start going. And then you hold it down, and you can let your thumb off, and we stop. So one of the things I noticed is that if you hold it down for a while, then you let your thumb off, it will enter into the cruise control. Now, because these brakes have motor inhibitors in them, all you have to do in order to turn that off is either tap on the throttle, or you could tap on the brakes, or you could hold down the button for 3 seconds again. It's kind of up to you, so let's see if we can get that one to happen. So hold it down, we're going right about that 3 mile an hour mark, and we let it go, and it's still going, right? So we've entered into that cruise control, and then in order to stop that, we're just gonna tap on the brakes and come to a stop. All right, guys, we are back here doing the ride test portion of the review. We got it in right now, no pedal assist. I'm not gonna use the throttle. We're just testing this bike out as if it were a bike. Let's go ahead and shift up. Very smooth shift, giving us a little bit more there. Shift up again. That's nice. And that 4th gear there, I mentioned earlier, that's my favorite gear. And we got 5th gear, a little bit harder of a shift there, but 5th gear feels pretty good. 6th, 7, real smooth shift to 7. I think 7 was my other favorite. Definitely feel like I can put in a lot of work here at 7, get a lot out of it. And finally, 8th gear. Real smooth shift from 7 to 8, and 8's where I'm putting in the most work for sure. All right, let's go ahead and test out the throttle. So we got it in pedal assist level 1. Remember, the pedal assist level directly affects how fast we go with this throttle. Nice zippy start there. And then we'll take our thumb off here. And we've entered into that cruise control. So 1st gear, 1st level pedal assist there. It's got us right at about that 11 mile an hour mark. And if we go up to pedal assist level 2, that's not going to change our cruise control because our cruise control is set before that, so we have to go and press this again. Goes up to about 13, and we'll just go all the way up until 5. Maybe in a minute. Let's cruise to the stop sign. Check both ways for safety, and let's go. Pretty zippy with the throttle here. I went into the advanced settings and I've changed some things. Right now I've got it back on the factory defaults, but when I was in there kind of messing around with some stuff, I was able to get a little bit more zip off the line there. And that throttle is going to take us right about 20 miles per hour, 21 miles per hour. And that is that class 3 rating kicking in there. So we're not going to be going 31 miles per hour with the throttle only on this one. And we're just cruising. And again, we take our thumb off here, and now we are cruise control at 21-ish miles per hour there. It's putting out about 500, 480, 500 watts, something like that. Seems to be fluctuating right about there in cruising around like this. So let's go ahead and pull in here and do a little bit of some pedal assist testing. All right, I'm over here. We got the bike in 4th gear, and we're going to test out the pedal assist here. We got in pedal assist level 1. Go ahead and start that. It's about 1 full rotation until we start to get some juice. Like I had mentioned, it is one of those things where you can get in there and mess around with that in the advanced settings. I believe they call it the slow start here in the advanced settings. And you get in there and you can change it around if you want to get a little more zip off the line there. And we'll go ahead and put in pedal assist level 2. I probably got to pick this up a little bit. Pop in 7th, my 2nd favorite gear. And we're cruising at 15 miles an hour. Saying it's giving me 50 watts right now. Maybe I need to put in less work. 60 watts. Okay, we're gonna do a little more work. Let's go ahead and put in pedal assist level 3. It's gonna 450, 450. So give me around that 450, 500 watts that we were getting when we were cruising around at that top speed with the throttle there. So we're settling in around 17 miles per hour. The bike's giving me anywhere between 180 to 250 watts here. Not doing a whole lot of work, and I feel like I'm not doing a whole lot of work either. I feel like I can cruise around like this for quite some time. Oh yeah, very nice. All right, we'll go to pedal assist level 4. Watts is going up to about 420, 450, creeping back down to 300. Kind of settling in that 300, 360 watt range here. I'll probably have to go up into 8th gear. And let's see, let's hit pedal assist level 5. Getting about 630, 700 watts. Hitting that straightaway here. About 500 watts. Taking me right around that 22 mile an hour range there. It's a little quick for these corners. Good thing these brakes work. Let's go ahead and test these out right now, I guess. We got our brakes. Let's get up to that 20 miles an hour range. And we'll see what these brakes want to do. All right, so we're picking up speed here. About 21, 22. And we'll go ahead and give it a stop. That was right about 10 feet, and I even tried to control it a little bit so we didn't get a skid over here. But that was pretty impressive. Again, my only gripe with these is just this handle and just how that affects me getting here to adjust. Obviously, you've seen it hasn't affected my ability to do it, period. It just is one of those things that makes it a little bit uncomfortable. Go ahead and do another braking test right over here. Got about 20 miles per hour. Let's go ahead and hammer on it right here. Get a little bit of skidding. Still right around that 10-foot mark. If we controlled it a little bit better, we probably would be able to stop a little bit better there. Now I'm outrunning some bikers. Go ahead and bring it to a nice stop here. Nice and easy. Nice and easy. So as far as the motor noise goes, a lot of it's really covered up by these big tires, and you get that when you have those bigger tires, especially those 4-inch tires with the deeper treads in there. You get quite a bit of road noise, so it almost kind of masks some of the noise we're getting from the tire there. Man, this thing is just like floats like a butterfly though. I don't know if you can see this. This is really fun actually. I feel like I'm skiing. See if we can find a speed bump. Let's hit it. Speed bumps ahead. Woo! Got some air there. That's not bad. That's scary. That's very scary. Let's do it again. Second time's a charm. Woo-hoo-hoo. I mean, that's not much. I mean, we're getting like maybe 4 or 5 inches of air there, but that is fun to get a bike that's this big off the ground at all. Is pretty fun. Okay, so I did want to do a little demonstration of the shocks. I was out there running around jumping off of all sorts of stuff. All right, and this road back here, it's got a lot of potholes and stuff in it, so I'm just gonna get cruising and we're just gonna hit them going top speed and see how we fare on there. Just like nothing, just like a little bub bub bub. That's it. That's it. Excuse me, little puppy, you seem lost. Look at this, there's a bike review and a dog rescue show. Are you okay, pup? Hey, pup, how's it going? How's it going, pup? Alright guys, that is going to do it for our review of the 2021 X3 Pro from Wallke. If you want to know anything more about it, we've got all the specs down in the description. And if you got any other questions, please let us know down here in the comments. Love talking to you guys, and we will catch you on the next one.